Good evening, all those folks out there in the interwebs. Um, welcome to the evening, all those folks out there in the. Welcome to the first inaugural episode of the Outpost with Legionnaire. I am your host, Legionnaire, and we are going to be starting this new thing here on BGKH, where we talk about all of the fun stuff that affects my life in terms of my gayness, my queerness, my kinkiness, my humanness, my blurredness, and all those other fun things. So, thank you all for being here and joining me on this very first episode. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I am a native of Chicago, born and raised. I am a veteran of the United States Air Force. Spent time living in the South, spent time living in Germany, which is where I discovered my kink side. Hey, Dominion, what's up? What's happening, baby? Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Um, well, let's see, where was I? Yes, talking about my discovery of kink. Yeah, I discovered kink when I was living in Germany. I was in the Air Force, all those fun things, um, figuring out my life and my path and all those good things. And I brought those things back with me when I came back here to Chicago. Um, and when got back here to Chicago, I started venturing out into the gay scene, trying to figure out my life in terms of what I was going to do with leather. And, a few years down the road, I discovered Onyx, a leather club for men of color, founded way back in 1995. Um, kind of stumbled on them on accident and have been a long-standing member of the organization ever since. It's one of my loves, one of my passions, and actually, it's through Onyx that I met my good Bristol Dominion, and through Dominion, I met my other good Bristol Epic. Um, Actually, Dominion and I have also done some other fun things together, podcast-wise, with Poppy Chulo Radio. We were doing a little show called Reality. I don't know if you guys remember that. We were doing a lot of things with that, which was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Actually, I still do things with Poppy Chulo Radio. A lot of TV show reviews, movie reviews, things like that. Things that appeal to all those things about me that are kinky and fun and just plain weird, appealing to my nerd side, my nerd senses. Um, so those things have been fun. What brought me to this particular platform? Yes, Davina, those were good times. Those were very good times. What brought me to this platform was, my good Bristol telling me that this was something that he was doing with Epic, the BGKH, and felt that I had a voice, something to say, something to put out there. So I don't know if you guys want to hear what I have to say, but I'm going to say it, whether you want to hear it or not. I've been around long enough to want to share some of my experiences and some of the things that I like, some of the things that I get into, and I want to hear what you like. If there are things that you want to talk to me about, let me know. Drop it in the comments. Talk to me. Let me know what's going on. Um, I am out there on the social networks. You can find me at Legionnaire Onyx on Facebook, and on the Twitter and Instagram, I am known as Legion Onyx. So you can find me there as well. Um, let's see, what else can I tell you about me? Kink wise, leather wise, I am a member of a leather family. Chaiwa Ben, Chaiwa, I can't even say it now. So you know what? We're gonna leave that alone for right now because we have our own introduction that we're gonna do. So shout out to my family Puma, Jay Phoenix, Wayne Wonder, and even Treble Onyx, who's out there probably getting into some kind of mischief or whatever. Love you guys and thank you for being my family. This show is going to be a little abbreviated. Probably going to get into more things and probably have people that we're going to talk to about different things. So if you guys have things that you want to talk to me about, you can definitely contact me in any of those methods. But we can get on here and we can chat. I can expound and share my views and stuff like that. But today I want to talk about She-Hulk. She-Hulk has been a great show that has been um, streaming on excuse me, streaming on Disney Plus. They are 3 episodes in, and I have to tell you that I love this show. So to give some background to any of you out here who don't know who she is, She-Hulk is the um, alter ego, I should say, of Jennifer Walters, who was a lawyer in California, who was spending some time with her cousin, Bruce Banner, AKA the Hulk. And she was part of trying this big case with these mafia guys, and they put a hit out on her, and she got shot. And because, there was no time to get her to a hospital, Bruce Banner made the decision to give her a blood transfusion. Well, as all these things happen in comic books, she became a Hulk herself because they were related. So the gamma blood affected her, and she became a female version of the Hulk. A lot of people find that derivative, but the character has very much come into her own over the years, and they decided to make a show out of it. And one of the things I was really looking forward to in this show was seeing if they were going to use the character to break the fourth wall, because that was something that was very popular in the second run of her comic book. It didn't happen in her first run, but she had a second run that was written and drawn by John Byrne. And that's when the character started to break the fourth wall. And then, it became a big thing. So it was, her character became funny in a lot of ways. Because she would actually speak to the audience, she would actually speak to the author, she would speak to the artist and things like that. And that was really cool. So I was wondering if they were going to incorporate that into the show, which they did. And I love it. And they did it to great effect. So just to give a quick recap of the first 3 episodes that I've come to love so much. Dom, I'm glad you're loving it too. I was pretty sure that you would. This show kind of gives her a different origin because we see that this happens probably shortly after Bruce Banner has attempted to snap to bring everybody back after the 5 years of people being half the population of the universe being gone and all that. And as a result, of an accident, there's a ship that flies down, interferes with their driving, they crash, they get cut, and drops of his blood get into her cut and infect her, and she becomes a Hulk herself because of their genetic similarities. But we also saw that kind of happen in the Incredible Hulk movie. If you remember, we would go back and see that when Samuel Stearns, the scientist who was trying to help Bruce Banner cure himself of the Hulk, spilled a blood sample, and some of the blood dripped into a wound on his head, which would, quote unquote, probably have led to him becoming the character in the comic books known as the Leader. The Leader was a gamma irradiated character who was super intelligent and then became a nemesis of the Hulk. So it was kind of the same thing that happened. So we see Jennifer in her Hulk form. She bursts into she has this scene I'm sorry, let me go back. She goes back and she goes to a bar because she's torn out of her clothes and everything. And it has this hilarious scene with some women that are trying to help her out. They get her dressed, put her in some clothes. She leaves the bar, and then some thugs or whatever try to pick her up, and then she gets angry and hulks out again. And just before she can tear them all apart, Bruce tackles her, whisks her off to Mexico, where she has to learn what it is to be a Hulk. So we get some great scenes of her learning to be a Hulk, and we discover that her version of the Hulk has a lot more control over her emotions and things that Bruce has, because Bruce is a big rage monster. But Jennifer is a little different. She's a very different Hulk. She already has a a handle on her emotions and things, having more to do with the fact that, this is stuff that she has to deal with as a woman. I know a lot of people complain that it was a lot of woman-splaining, but that wasn't something that bothered me. I mean, it was something that, women experience. I was okay with it. I was okay with them incorporating it into the show. It was cool. It was fine. So we got that whole montage of her learning how to control her powers, learning how to use her powers, to use her strength. And we also get those first little vestiges of her breaking the fourth wall and speaking to the audience. One in the beginning of the episode where she, of course, has to recap how she got to be Hulk. And then at the end of her training, where she's going to go back to her regular life of being a lawyer. And Bruce tells her that it's okay. And she looks back at the audience and says, it's really not okay. Then Bruce looks back and is like, who are you talking to? So that was really cool. That was really cute. We get back to the courtroom where she's getting ready to try a case. And lo and behold, she's forced to change into She-Hulk because she has to take on Titania. Titania is a super powered, super strong social influencer in this show. But in the comic book, she was actually a nemesis of She-Hulk because she was a little weakling named Skeeter, Mary Skeeter McFerrin, where she was given her powers by Dr. Doom, and she became this big powerhouse Amazon. So decided that, hey, since she was super strong, she was going to be the strongest woman of the world instead of She-Hulk. And so that's how their rivalry began in the comics. But of course, in this show, Jennifer takes her out with one punch, which is hilarious. But the upshot of that is that she has to expose herself as She-Hulk. So now everybody knows she's out there. She has to deal with being a Hulk and not having much of a private life now because her dual identity is public knowledge. Hey, Eccentric, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you for being here. So that's how it wraps up. She's exposed. So then we get into the second episode where she has to now contend with the fact that she has now become a public figure as She-Hulk. And she loses her job as a DA, as an assistant DA, because of being She-Hulk and exposing herself. So they fire her because they can't afford to have her as a distraction when they're trying cases and things like that. So then we go from Jennifer Walters, She-Hulk attorney at law, to attorney for hire, because now she's got to find a job. So she's going out and she's going through the personals trying to find a job. And there was some really cool Easter eggs that got dropped in there as well as she was going through the process of trying to find a job and being on the internet. There was a scene where she's on the computer and on the side, there are a couple of news articles. One talks about a guy with claws who has a fight in a bar. A reference to our favorite clawed mutant, Wolverine. Hey, Epic, thank you. Glad you made it. Welcome. Good to see you. So we had that scene, we had that, and we also had a news story about a giant man that's sitting in the middle of the ocean, which is a reference to the movie Eternals, because one of the Celestials was trying to hatch out of the earth, but of course they stopped it, and now we have this figure that's sticking out of the ocean. So that was really cool. So Jennifer ends up eventually getting a job with a law firm where they want her to work exclusively as She-Hulk in their upcoming brand new superhuman law division, because they want to use her, her celebrity, or rather her notoriety or whatever, to influence their business, which is cool because that's kind of how the story unfolds in the comic book. She still wants to be a lawyer. She still wants to do her thing. She's not really all that interested in becoming a superhero. She wants to do that. So that's cool. So it turns out that her first client is Emil Blonsky, otherwise known as the Abomination, who we saw in The Incredible Hulk. So we get a scene where she's kind of vacillating, trying to decide whether she wants to do this or not. And in the process, she decides to have a conversation with Bruce because, we all know that in the Incredible Hulk, they weren't getting along too well, and he was trying to kill him. So she talks to Bruce, and Bruce has this really good conversation where he said, "Hey, Emil and I have made peace. He sent me a letter, and it turns out that he didn't even, I moved past that. Back then, I was a different person," which is a cute little nod to the fact that Mark Ruffalo was not in the Incredible Hulk. Edward Norton was in the Incredible Hulk. So yeah, we had a different person in the role of Bruce Banner. Um, hey, Lauren, welcome to the Outpost. Good to see you. So of course, we pan out. Bruce is in the ship that caused their accident in the first place because he has some things to deal with back on Sakaar. Sakaar is a reference to the fact that that's where we found Hulk after Avengers Age of Ultron, because we saw him. So yeah, I'm late. So what? Yes, you are late, but you're here, Epic. So I'm glad you're here. It doesn't matter. Late or not, you're here. So we got the Hulk that's flying off into outer space. So that's where we leave him. Yes, it's shocking. We leave him going into outer space, which opens the door for some potential storylines for the Hulk movie, which will be either World War Hulk, where he comes back and he's pissed off because he's been shuttled out to outer space, or Planet Hulk, where he kind of takes over and becomes kind of a big cheese back on Sakaar when he was, which flashes back to his days as a gladiator when he was on Sakaar in Thor Ragnarok. So we'll see what happens with the next Hulk movie. So Jennifer is all set to take on Emil as her client and everything. You know, he's been there. He's been a model prisoner and doing his thing. But we see footage of Emil Blonsky and Wong in a cage fight in China, which is a flash to the scene that took place in the movie Shang-Chi, where Shang-Chi had to go to China to find his sister, and that's why they found her and they encountered the two of them. So now Jennifer has to regroup because, okay, the fact that you broke out of prison could create a problem when you're trying to, approach the parole board. So that's how we leave that episode. Then we sweep into the third episode. Okay, now we're not going to do this on my podcast where you all are going back and forth. You all need to just listen and chime in on the topic. Thank you. But I love y'all. Thank you for being here. So in this third and latest episode, we see that Jen is trying to work through the case. She talks to Emil and says, look, hey, I got this footage of you breaking out of prison. What the fuck? What happened? So he goes on to explain that, well, he didn't say that he couldn't change into the abomination. He just chose not to. And when he was taken out of prison, that wasn't by choice. That was something that was done to him by Wong. Wong, of course, is the new Sorcerer Supreme behind Doctor Strange, and he was training. He explains that he swept him up because he needed some training and fighting skills. So he took the abomination, and that's how they ended up in this cage match. Weird, but hey, it's the Marvel Universe, Marvel Cinematic Universe. Weird things happen. We roll with it. So we also have a side story where Pug Pugilis, who is also a character from the comic, who has kind of a romance with her in the comics, but we don't know if we don't see that in the show or not. He has a case with the guy that was working with her in the DA's office. He's suing this elf from Asgard because she tricked him out of some money by pretending that she was Megan Thee Stallion. So for whatever reason, he thought he was in a romance with Megan Thee Stallion. So now he's trying this case because Jennifer can't be bothered. She's got other shit she's got to worry about. So as we see Jennifer go into the prison, everybody's trying to get more information about her and her alter ego as a She-Hulk. And some other cute little things get thrown out there. One of which somebody says, hey, I heard you got your powers, from a botched mafia hit. Well, that is how she got her powers in the comic book. So it was a nice little nod that they threw in there for us comic book nerds. So it's really nice that we got to see that. Oh, you're on your way home to watch the third episode. Okay. Well, you're gonna love it, Epic. It's been great so far. It's been a lot of fun. So if you don't want to have too many spoilers or whatever, don't listen. But yeah, so we get Jennifer in there talking to him and talking to email. She's got to go ahead and figure out how she's going to spin this. He explains what happened. She's got to get a hold of Wong, and you know, she's got to get Wong to say, "Hey, this is what I did. This is why he didn't break him out of prison. I broke him out of prison, and this is why I had to do it." So that's how that went down. We also get a scene where this elf is on trial against this guy that she tricked, that Pug is representing, and talked about the fact that, hey, you should have known I wasn't Megan Thee Stallion, because hey, if I was able to fool you, then hey, you just shit out of luck, whatever. So they thinking about, okay, how are we gonna do this? How are we gonna help him win? So we go back to Emil and She-Hulk, and she's able to get Wong to testify to the fact that he's going to that he was the one that broke him out of prison. It wasn't his fault. He's been a model prisoner. Even when the fight was over, I was going to take him back to Carmitage, where he can be peaceful and live out his life. He said, no, take me back to jail, take me back to prison so I can serve out my sentence. So I'm like, hey, even though I could have left and could have stayed gone, I decided to go back. He even changed into the Abomination to demonstrate that, hey, I could have changed into the Abomination and kind of tried to break out of here at any given point in time. But I didn't do that because, hey, I want to serve my time. I want to be a model prisoner. I want to do my thing and be peaceful and all that. And he also has these seven soulmates, these women that he's talking to that are going to help him, with his endeavors when he gets out of prison, which is funny in and of itself. So I won't go into too much detail. Hopefully you guys will watch it and check it out and let me know what you think. So after that, we swing back to Jennifer in the bar with Nikki and Pug, and they talk about the case and everything, and they kind of tie those two little sub stories together, which was really cute because we had another break the wall moment with Jen where she pops in and says, "Hey, see, we tied in storylines A and B." So that was really cute. And Jen decides, hey, I'm going to help him out, help him win this case by showing what a narcissist this guy was to believe her in the first place. And she helps him win the case. And then we see Megan Thee Stallion that's in the audience. That's like, yeah, so there's only one Megan Thee Stallion. There's only one Megan Thee Stallion, which was really cute because we had there was stuff on the interwebs that was saying that she was going to be there, but in what capacity, we didn't know. I figured it was going to be a guest spot, but the extent to which they had her in there was really cool. So that was kind of how that wound up. And then we got a last scene where, Jennifer is deciding that, hey, I'm going to have to start to figure out how to embrace my life as She-Hulk because I'm out there now. I won this case. My life as She-Hulk is not going away. So she's got to talk about it. She's got to get ahead of it. She's got to take control of it, which is what she does. She goes on this TV interview where she talks about it. They try to spin it around in a different way, but she ain't having it. They try to talk about, hey, how did you get the name? And she doesn't come up with any wild stories. She was like, hey, there was just some idiot that was interviewed, threw the name out there, and it stuck. Wasn't nothing special. Hey, we're going to come back and talk about your exercise and dieting tips. And she's like, I don't know about any special dieting tips or anything. I got some gamma blood in my veins, and now I'm big and green. That's how that worked. So that was cool. That was cute. So we got a last scene of the show where she is on her way back, and she gets attacked by these goons. Turns out that they have stolen, or rather absconded with some Asgardian weapons or Asgardian building supplies or whatever. And it turns out that these guys are the MCU version of a group called the Wrecking Crew. Now, for us comic book geeks, the Wrecking Crew started with the Wrecker, a guy named Garth Braithwaite, who was given an enchanted wrecking, not a enchanted wrecking lord, an enchanted crowbar, and became a wrecker. So he decided to give powers and share his powers with three other guys, so that we have the wrecker with the crowbar. We have a pile driver who has these, well, in the show, he has these gauntlets, but in the comic books, he has these enormous fists, enlarged fists. We have uh, pile driver. We have bulldozer who's wearing an enchanted hard hat, which is similar to what he does in the comics. And then we have Thunderball, who has like a wrecking ball. So these guys decide that they're going to take on Jennifer, and of course, they have very little to no effect in taking her on. It's all done or whatever, and she takes him out pretty easily. Apparently, the plan was to try to get some of her blood, but of course, in her She-Hulk form, she's invulnerable. Didn't quite work. Didn't quite work out. Sorry, so sad. But apparently, they are working for someone else. So we're getting the beginnings of a subplot. So hopefully we'll see more of that in upcoming episodes, where we'll see what's happening with this plot of getting her blood. Because maybe there is that understanding that, gamma radiated blood can give people powers. We've seen Bruce's blood give powers to Jen. We've had the hint of Bruce Banner's blood giving powers to Sam Stearns in the Incredible Hulk movie. So maybe that's something that's got out. We'll see. And so that's kind of how it wraps up. She's looking into the car window where she realizes, hey, She-Hulk is part of my life now. This is what it is. So she's got to embrace it. She's got to get her arms around it. So we get the closing credits. And of course, we have another mid-credit scene that is hilarious and hysterical, because she's signing on her new client. And her new client is Meg Thee Stallion. And, Meg is all down with having Jennifer Walters as her lawyer. Her last attorney wasn't as much fun as her. Jennifer says, hey, I'll kill for you, Megan. And then there's a scene where they are bopping in her office and She-Hulk is twerking. And when I tell you that I laughed my ass off, that is easily the funniest thing that they have had in this show so far. So it can only go up from here. It's a great show. Like I said, breaking the fourth wall has not been a hindrance. I know some people want to know why. I don't think it's important that we know why or how. It just is. It's fun for the show. It's a nice nod to the audience that's watching and enjoying everything. So, hey, keep on watching. Let me know what you think of it. Hit me up on the social media. Let me know what you think. So yeah, that's my recap of She-Hulk up until this point. I'll probably do more in-depth deep dives going forward. I'll probably do some reviews of other different shows and things like that I like. Some other things that I'm really into. I'm a big time Trekkie. So, Damian and I have had some conversations about some of the Star Trek shows. We both have a love of The Orville, which wrapped up its third season, Dark Horizons, which was excellent. We got the third and last season of Picard that's going to be coming up really soon. We got Lower Decks that's happening out there. Yes, thank you, Damian. I almost forgot about Lower Decks, because I had to catch up on that. I got halfway through the second season but didn't finish it, so I got to do that. So yeah, and if there are other things that you guys might be interested in, geek-wise, I'll be willing and able to talk comics, blurred stuff, some reality TV that I do watch. I do have some guilty pleasures, specifically 90 Day Fiance and Married at First Sight. Those are train wrecks that I just can't look away from for some reason. This current season of Married at First Sight is quite the trip. So hey, if you guys want to hear me talk about that, I'll be more than willing to talk about that. Um, so yeah, yeah, that's all we're gonna do for today. I'll probably, like I said, do a more in-depth analysis of She-Hulk and some other shows, and probably get into some other different topics and things like that for the next show. But I wanted to just at least do this introduction to give you guys a idea of who I am. You get to see me, we get to talk, we get to chat. Hopefully, you'll be digging my background. My background is actually done in Wakandan. It says Legionnaire Onyx. So I might change it up, switch it up. I do like different fonts for different comic book things. So you might see a little bit of Wakandan. You might see some Krakoan for those of us who read X-Men. You might see some Interlac for those who read the Legion of Superheroes, from which I get my name, Legionnaire. Um, and all those things. So again, I want to thank you all for being here. Hope you all will come back, come again, and come often, as I try to do. So yeah, with that, I'm going to sign off. I'll say so long live the Legion. Welcome to the Outpost, and come back, and we'll do it all again next week.